You'll be paying for my suffering because you couldn't keep up your beauty. Dad, I don't understand what you're saying. My name is Michelle. Right now, I feel a profound sense of accomplishment. Today, I finally paid off our mortgage. When Daniel and I first married, we took out a 35-year mortgage, splitting it evenly between us. Although we saved some money since the land was my grandfather's and we had his permission to use it, repaying the loan was still a significant challenge. Since our daughter Lisa was born, I've been balancing housework, childcare, and my job with no time to spare. Daniel isn't much help around the house, so most of the chores fell on me. Fortunately, I was able to manage everything because I work from home. I spent countless hours at home, managing the household. Daniel initially promised to contribute more financially, saying, "Just because you're home all day doesn't mean I'll leave all the work to you. I'll handle more of the finances, trust me." But this promise only lasted a few years. His attitude shifted about 3 years into our mortgage repayment, particularly after Lisa was born. "You have it easy, staying home all day. I bet you just nap while I work. When you're not up at night with Lisa, you're home all day. At least get the housework done." Daniel belittled my work-from-home job, dismissing it as an easy way to earn some extra money. But working from home comes with its own deadlines and pressures. Managing to contribute to the mortgage while handling household chores and childcare wasn't easy, but Daniel never truly grasped that. There were times when I seriously considered leaving him. I even mentioned divorce once, but Daniel, tearfully apologetic, begged me to stay, and we had Lisa. I didn't want a divorce to negatively impact our future, so I held on and kept doing my best. Strangely, as soon as we paid off the mortgage, Daniel asked for a divorce. We were celebrating this milestone at a fancy restaurant with our family of 3. I had dressed up a bit more than usual and was savoring a delicious meal when Daniel pulled out the divorce papers. Until that moment, there had been no indication of what was coming. "Mom, congratulations on paying off the mortgage." "Thank you. Now we need to start saving for retirement." "Oh no, does this mean we can't splurge?" "Of course, we need to save for things like your future study abroad program too." "Thanks, I'll help with saving, so let me know what I can do." That was the conversation Lisa and I were having. We were already saving, but without the mortgage, we could accelerate our savings. It was a hopeful exchange about our future plans, and it was heartwarming to have such a deep conversation with Lisa, who is now a high schooler. But then Daniel abruptly said, "You know, Michelle, I just can't see you as a woman anymore. The way you've been working so hard is actually a turnoff. I'm planning to marry this young woman I'm seeing now. Could you move out?" He said this so suddenly without noticing the shock on Lisa's and my faces. He continued, oblivious to our distress. "Her name is Amelia. Want to see a picture? Isn't she cute? Completely different from you, Michelle. Even when she's working, she looks like she's enjoying herself and doesn't seem stressed. She's a real social butterfly, nothing like you." I couldn't believe it. The reason I worked so hard was to pay off our family's mortgage. Did he really understand how challenging it was to contribute to the mortgage on a work-from-home salary? And wasn't I overwhelmed with housework because he never helped? But according to him, housework is a woman's job, and I'm apparently not good at it. I wasn't perfect at housework, but I did my best for our family. We finally paid off our mortgage, and now, when we should be celebrating, he's saying this. When we bought the house and I suggested divorce, he refused, saying, "Lisa's still here, so please don't leave me." But now, my feelings have changed. In response to my frustration, Daniel retorted with irritation. Even though we were in a nice restaurant, the atmosphere was incredibly tense. "What can I do? Younger women are simply more attractive." Sure, the economic effort you put into paying off the mortgage was impressive, but you can't compete with youth. "That's terrible, Dad. It's so rude to Mom. You need to apologize." Lisa was clearly upset, but Daniel seemed unfazed. "Lisa doesn't fully understand yet, does she? But you do, right, Michelle? Women are like appliances. Newer models are always better, and everyone wants them. Comparing me to an appliance? How disrespectful." "Well, since I no longer have any feelings for you, I guess it's only natural for me to say rude things. And as for staying together for Lisa's sake, I might have used that as an excuse. I was just holding on to someone who did the housework for me." Daniel's words were beyond belief, but he continued with his justifications. At that moment, I tried to use Lisa's name to convince him to reconsider the divorce, hoping it would make him rethink his decision. But in truth, I wasn't thinking about Lisa at all. I was just desperate to keep someone who was handling the household duties. Can you really say that in front of Lisa? What kind of parent are you? What does being a parent have to do with anything? I've always put myself first. I might sacrifice for my child, but that's just about self-satisfaction, isn't it? Don't involve me in that. What Daniel was saying was shocking. Although he had always been somewhat selfish, I never imagined he'd be so blatantly dismissive of his parental responsibilities, especially in front of Lisa. Well, look, I feel bad about leaving a woman your age on her own just like you. That's why I'm giving you all our assets. Dad, what are you talking about? Just a moment ago, you told me to leave. Yes, and that's why I'm offering you the money, but in return, I'm taking the house. Consider it alimony, Daniel said. Alimony? Why should Mom have to pay that? Shouldn't you be the one to cover the cost for having an affair with a younger woman? Lisa demanded. It's not as simple as that, Lisa. Your mom is at fault too. Let's see. The reason for the alimony could be her failure to stay attractive, right? Oh, and let's add the crime of prioritizing her daughter over her husband. Daniel laughed loudly, taking a sip of his drink. Lisa was visibly furious at his attitude, but strangely, I felt strangely calm, or maybe my thoughts were just frozen because I couldn't grasp what was happening. It was all so incomprehensible. Daniel seemed like a stranger to me. Daniel said, I'm giving you all the money, but since we prioritize mortgage repayments, there isn't much cash left. I'll be keeping the house for myself. The alimony is for not staying attractive and for putting Lisa before me. I couldn't make sense of his words. It was as if I were trying to communicate with an alien. I was struggling to figure out how to respond to this unfamiliar version of Daniel. I was about to speak when Lisa jumped in. By the way, Dad, is this young woman you're talking about the one living about 5 stations away from here? She's a bit older than me, right? You met her around 3 months ago, didn't you? What? How do you know that? Daniel asked, clearly startled. Lisa, unfazed by his reaction, continued while scrolling through her smartphone. Well, my friend's dad faced a similar situation recently. A woman suddenly approached him saying, Look at me, not your wife. But my friend's dad quickly discussed it with his wife, seeing through the woman's intentions and keeping her at bay. Unlike you, he handled it wisely. Lisa, how dare you speak to me, your father, like that? Daniel roared, clearly enraged. I'm just speaking the truth. I also heard that the situation at my friend's house was quite difficult. The couple's relationship was strained for a while. But what's important now is that Amelia seems to target men who are already in relationships, Lisa explained. What? What are you talking about, Lisa? I don't understand, I said, still confused. Watch what you say about Amelia. Daniel snapped. Even if you're my daughter, I won't forgive you. But Lisa was unfazed. She pulled out her smartphone and showed us a few photos. Look at these. The first one is of my club senior being approached by her. The second is a classmate of mine. Both of them have girlfriends, and she told them, Look at me, not your girlfriend. What? What does that mean? She seems to enjoy stealing other people's men. It's not about liking Dad, it's about the thrill of taking someone away, Lisa said. Daniel appeared stunned by Lisa's revelation. He stared blankly for about a minute, trying to process what she said. When he finally spoke, he looked desperate. No, Amelia isn't like that. Don't spread such lies. I love her, and she loves me too. Stop making false accusations just because you're a high schooler. Even high schoolers know a thing or two. It's you who doesn't understand anything, Daniel said dismissively. Right, Dad. And what's the reason for this alimony again? For prioritizing your daughter? Is that some kind of new joke? Because it's not funny, Lisa retorted. What? How dare you speak to your parent like that? You're being disrespectful, Daniel shot back. Well, Dad, you're being incredibly rude to Mom, claiming alimony for ridiculous reasons. The house is in Mom's name, right? And when it comes to the mortgage, Mom paid more under the pretext of child support. The household chores were also divided unfairly. If you really want a divorce, you should cover the costs of the house, which is in Mom's name, including the full price of the land. And you should be the one to leave the house after paying the alimony and enjoying your time with Amelia. At Lisa's words, Daniel seemed at a loss for words. It looked like he was beginning to realize he was at a disadvantage, but he didn't want to admit it. Instead, he argued back desperately. You're just trying to avoid the divorce and making things up. Amelia has a stealing husband's hobby, huh? It's pointless to try to deceive me with such lies. Amelia told me on her destiny. Yeah, whatever. Lisa seemed uninterested in Daniel's rebuttal, her attention focused on the menu as she eagerly anticipated what was next. Meanwhile, Daniel's face turned red with frustration as he continued to complain. Amelia and I are bound by true love, and you're just trying to interfere with that. Maybe you should pay the alimony as an apology. Oh, really? I didn't realize you were such an expert on these matters. If that's how you feel, why not involve a lawyer? Lisa replied. What? You think you're right, don't you? But Mom would never accept such an absurd claim. Daniel retorted. Well, yes, that's true. It's impossible to accept such a ridiculous claim for alimony. But fine, if that's how it is, let's at least fill out the divorce papers now. We can handle the rest when we get home and submit them tomorrow. We'll get a lawyer involved for alimony and property division later. All right, it's settled then. It's almost time for dessert. I'm looking forward to it, Lisa said. I was initially stunned by Daniel's incomprehensible statements, but his words gave me a strange sense of resolve. Regardless of who Amelia was, I could no longer feel any love for Daniel. He wouldn't be living with us anymore. If that's the case, there was only one thing left to do. All right, I'll sign it then. I signed the divorce papers that Daniel had brought. The three of us silently finished our last dessert and left the restaurant. The next day, we went to City Hall to submit the divorce papers. The divorce was successfully finalized, and Daniel and I began living in separate weekly rental apartments. I moved in with Lisa. We each hired lawyers to handle the division of assets and alimony, but no lawyer would support Daniel's claim that I had to be beautiful or prioritize our daughter over him. Daniel's liability was clearly established. Even he, who had previously ignored both Lisa and me, appeared subdued when confronted by a lawyer. In the end, he admitted his fault. The divorce was finalized with Daniel relinquishing his claim to the property. The house would now be solely in my name. This decision seemed to reflect Daniel's long-standing neglect of household responsibilities. Ultimately, it was the best outcome for Lisa and me. Oh, I don't need any money. I've got Amelia. You can keep that old house once you finish the 35-year mortgage. I'm starting a new life, Daniel declared, bluffing till the very end. However, Daniel's new beginning didn't go as planned. Amelia turned out to be exactly as Lisa had described, a woman who enjoys toying with men who are already in relationships or married. As soon as Daniel and I separated, she lost interest and dumped him. This was a harsh surprise for Daniel. Having lost both his assets and the love he believed in, Daniel, now flustered and desperate, came seeking reconciliation. Michelle, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. You're the only one for me, and I'm the only one for you, right? What are you talking about? I'm exhausted from handling housework for you. Besides, I don't think I'll stay beautiful in the future. And of course, I plan to prioritize Lisa and myself over you. I can't afford to deal with alimony claims again, so reconciliation is out of the question. Absolutely out of the question. Daniel's shock at my blunt rejection was palpable. Since then, I haven't heard from him. I've moved out of the weekly rental and am now happily settled in my own home, having paid off the mortgage with just Lisa. Lisa will soon begin preparing earnestly for her college entrance exams, and I'm committed to supporting her with everything I have.